Initially, I had the FOMO of places in news, species in news and all. I used to make notes out of it. But later, there were compilations of that by user. And later, I realized that the return on investment of such things are very low. And I actually focused on concepts. The way in which you taught us is very simple. For example, for El Nino, you would take a bucket and bucket.
The fan example.
Yes, sir. For example, in prelims, we are often frightened of the national parks and all. But actually in prelims, about 30 questions, 30% questions, maybe about a moderate level, 10% will be tough. Others will be actually easy. So if we are focusing on this part, we should be mostly from physical geography.
Right.
We could clear the prelims decently. Then I realized that instead of chasing maths, I could have focused more on concepts. And I think analyzing conceptual questions would be more productive because math-based questions will change according to the current affairs of that particular year. You are not just drawing some random diagrams, but you are actually you actually know the subject. Otherwise, we can also do some educated guesses if we haven't studied that species also. If we have the daily newspaper knowledge, we can do some educated guesses. But if you don't know, we have to skip it. I would say if you are strong in concepts, do all the conceptual questions. And if you are confident like about 50-50, but ideally I would suggest if you attempt only if you are sure.
Preparation for civil services examination requires meticulous planning, knowing what to study, and more importantly, knowing how to approach the syllabus. When it comes to the subject of geography and environment, many of the candidates get intimidated by the vast syllabus and also the technical nature of the subject. Hello and welcome to Unacademy. Welcome to this special session where I am joined by one of the toppers of English medium this year, Sreelakshmi, who has secured a rank of 133, and she will help us understand how to approach the subject of geography and environment and what actually worked for her, and that can be a guiding light for all of you beginners who are initiating the preparation for the examination. Well, I hope you are able to understand the details of the preparation well. I'll just be borrowing a few seconds from you to announce that if you want to start the preparation for civil services, now is the time. We have come up with a limited time offer having a historic low price of 16,999 with a free extension of up to 6 months on the GS courses. All you get to do is use the code IES English and be a part of one of the most successful and prolific English teams in the entirety of the country. Together, let's crack it. So, Sri Lakshmi, first of all, welcome. Good to see you, and congratulations for the success.
Thank you so much.
So, coming directly to the topic, you have the pen in hand. So, when it comes to the subject of geography, how did you approach the subject? What were the various nuances you kept in mind? And what do you suggest the candidates to follow?
So for geography as a subject, my resources were very concise. I kept it very simple. I used the class notes.
Okay.
Then the NCERTs were actually integrated into the class, which helped me a lot. But I used to revise the diagrams from NCERTs. And then I revised it multiple times. Initially, I had the FOMO of places in news, species in news and all. I used to make notes out of it. But later, there were compilations of that by user. And later, I realized that the return on investment of such things are very low. And I actually focused on concepts. So conceptual clarity is the key in understanding geography. To be honest, geography was a little tough for me.
Okay.
It was a very volatile subject, but the way in which you taught us was very simple. For example, for El Nino, you would take a bucket and bucket.
The fan example.
Yes, sir.
Right.
And in classes, we used to discuss the landforms that we see every day. So actually, we were integrating geography into our daily routine. We were like experimenting and all in our daily life also. We would discuss about various landforms, various rivers in our locality. So that all helped me grasp the concepts very clearly.
For the uninformed, the students like Sri Lakshmi, they would share the images from their surroundings and then they would discuss the landforms. So that would be integrating the visualistic aspect of the subject, and that would help in conceptual clarity. Now, Sreelakshmi, when we talk about geography, it has got various different parts: physical geography, Indian geography, geography of the world. Now, which portion do you think will have the maximum yield for the candidate when you compare or consider the preparation of prelims as well as mains?
I think it is physical geography because maximum amount of questions comes from that area,
Okay.
and it is very simple to understand, and we can grasp very clearly those. And if we are focusing on that, we would land on a pretty decent marks in prelims as well as mains. For example, in prelims, we are often frightened of the national parks and all, but actually in prelims about 30 questions, 30 percentage questions, maybe about a moderate level, 10 percentage will be tough, others will be actually easy. So if we are focusing on this part, which should be mostly from physical geography,
Right.
we could clear the prelims decently.
Right. So, can we say that when we talk about physical geography, there is a kind of a predictability
Yes,
to
sir.
the questions that are asked in the examination, be it for the prelims as well as in the mains examination.
Yes,
So,
sir.
what was your experience when you went into the mains, the prelims exam hall, first of all, and you took a look at the questions, the conceptual questions as well as the map based questions? Tell us about that.
So honestly, I could clear most of the conceptual based questions, but I
Okay.
wasn't very sure of the map based questions. Then I realized that instead of chasing maps, I could have focused more on concepts only.
Concepts.
So I skipped many map based questions, but still I got about above
100.
100.
Yeah. So
So
that tells you that even if you choose to ignore those factual portions of the syllabus, still you can score more than 100 in the prelims examination. And that is all that you need to clear the exam. After all, it is not counted in the final merit list. It is a paper where you just need to qualify. So when we talk about analysis of the PYQs also, that are very important. So analysis of PYQs, particularly, let's suppose when we discuss the physical geography, the factual questions, should we analyze the previous map-based questions and the factual questions, or should we analyze the conceptual physical geography questions?
and I think analyzing conceptual questions would be more productive because map based questions will change according to the current affairs of that particular year. And even if we spot many map based questions in a particular year, that paper would be tough for everyone.
Correct.
So even if we skip that, everyone would be skipping that.
Yes.
So if even if our attempts are low, that would somehow balance with others. So the cutoff would be actually lower. For example, 2023
Yes.
for session year. So we shouldn't get it into our mind that we should attempt this much. Always like it is not set in stone.
Right.
We could always change it according to the paper. There should be a plan B, but not on concepts.
Okay. And one more question about geography. When we talk about the geography, the physical geography there and the Indian geography, oftentimes it is read in isolation. What we practice in the class is the interlinkage between the two. So, how do you think that is important, or should it be read individually? What should be the approach for each one of them?
Sir, I think in the initial time we could integrate them. If we have a good foundation, we can actually integrate it very well.
Okay.
And later on, we could go on to focused, targeted studies according to the demand of the situation.
And and in geography, answer writing, by the way, what is the role of diagrams in answer writing for the subject of geography?
Sir, in geography answers diagrams are very important because it gives a visualistic view to the examiner, and it conveys that you have the knowledge of the subject. You are not just drawing some random diagrams, but you actually know the subject.
And you tend to convey more with diagrams
Yes,
as
sir.
well. So,
It doesn't have to be sophisticated diagrams. You can use simple diagrams like those we used in classes
yes,
and
yeah,
for cyclones and all. They were very simple
simple, yeah,
diagrams. We could easily replicate in the exam within time.
okay. Now, tell me something about the subject of environment. Environment, if I can change this, environment is quite scary for many of the candidates. They don't know which species to study, which are the places to study, and they tend to ignore the basic aspects such as the climate conventions, the concept of climate change. So, what do you think should be the approach when it comes to environment and ecology as a subject?
So for environment, we should build the concepts like, as you mentioned, the climate change and but for species and all, we just have to know the important species in news. Otherwise, we can also do some educated guesses if we haven't studied that species also. If we have the daily newspaper knowledge, we can do some educated guesses. But if you don't know, we have to skip it.
Right.
And otherwise,
The role of current affairs in environment ecology in terms of the prelims as well as in the mains exam.
yes, sir. In mains examination, actually, many questions came directly from the UCAN sessions. For example, the carbon capture
Right.
system and all, and about
Groundwater contamination.
yes, sir. We have
Groundwater.
discussed it about just 3 months ago.
Yeah.
So current affairs is very important in environment. Integrating with the static portion would actually reward, as it shows the dynamics and the statics as well, and the examiner would know that you are an analytical person. You have to think it from multiple perspectives and to show futuristic solutions. And the way forward should be much more positive.
Crisp and
Yes,
concise.
sir.
Yeah. Okay. So let me ask you a very simple nutshell question. Let's suppose in geography you have 15 questions which are asked in the prelims, right? So ideally a candidate should attempt or target to attempt how many questions in the prelims now that the prelims exams are approaching?
So that would depend upon the difficulty of the paper.
Okay.
And I would say if you are strong in concepts, do all the conceptual questions. And if you are confident, like about 50-50, but ideally I would suggest if you attempt only if you're sure. But if you have a more than 50% surety in it, you can go for it.
Okay, so out of 15, let's suppose the conceptual questions will be around 10. 10 of them will be conceptual. Let's suppose 3 of them will be factual, right? And 2 of them, let's suppose trivia based or map based. So out of this, can you say that 12 to 13 marks can be gained, 12 to 13 questions can be attempted in
Surely, sir.
geography?
Yes, sir.
But you have to pay attention to concepts,
Yes, sir.
right? And in environment, out of the, let's suppose 14 questions which are asked in the prelims, what was your approach?
I used to write only minimal in environment, but some species in news were the ones I studied. Some didn't study,
Yeah.
so I skipped those. I didn't study. So
Okay.
I would go for about 7,
7 to
8.
8. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So around 7 to 8 out of these. So combined out of 29 questions, you will be able to get around 20 to 21 questions, right?
Yes, sir.
Out of geography and environment. So guys, that tells you about what is required and what is the approach which is needed when it comes to geography and the subject of environment ecology. And for environment ecology, what was the resource that you followed?
Then I followed the class notes PPTs and the newspapers.
Along with the UCAN sessions.
Yes, sir. You can.
Right. And geography again, the class notes plus the basic NCERTs.
Yes, sir.
So NCERT should be used for revision or should it be used as a first point of reading?
It depends on the class notes that you have in hand, sir. Because in unacademy class notes, I used to get NCERT fundamentals also.
Okay.
So I used that notes for the first learning, and then I used NCERTs for revision. But if you don't have that, you can use NCERTs for first reading.
Thank you very much, Sreelakshmi, for this informative session. For all the other candidates and the aspirants who are appearing for the examination, this gives you an idea about the approach, the material list. All that you need to do is be disciplined enough and follow the basic concepts. That is all that is required to clear the examination, be it the prelims or the mains. It is not a rocket science, it is a case of simple mechanism. That will be all from my side. Till we meet again, take care. Goodbye. Thank you.